My name is Jay, and I do the composting for the tree neighborhood in the eco village of Ithaca. I want to talk to you today a little bit about composting. Composting happens naturally in nature. As you see here, the leaves that have fallen from the trees, the branches, the bark, all of that gets broken down naturally by little critters we will call decomposers, worms, centipedes, all kinds of little bugs. And it returns all the nutrients that were in the leaves and the bark and the branches back to the soil so that the trees can once again use them to grow. And we do something like that in composting, except it's more deliberate, and we create little bins and all kinds of structures to do that. And now we're going to show you what we do in the compost bins. So this is our compost bin where we put all the food scraps from our kitchen, vegetable and fruit wastes, along with leaves to decompose, much like we saw that happens in nature, but we're going to make it happen. And what we do is we put the food scraps in here, cover it with leaves, and the reason we cover it with leaves is because the leaves have carbon, and the greens and fruit wastes have nitrogen, and the four ingredients that are necessary for an effective breakdown of the food waste is water, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. We put all of that together in the bin, and then the worms and the centipedes and the nematodes and the bacteria break it down, and after a while we have soil, and we're going to show you what that looks like. From my kitchen, some apple peels, orange peels, some ginger from the ginger tea I made, and I'm going to put that into the compost pile. And here is some more. Okay. And next we're going to get some leaves. We keep our leaves in here, which we collect in the autumn and save, and we sprinkle that over and that makes a yummy meal for all those centipedes and worms and flies that will break down the compost. These are drawings of a lot of the little critters that love to eat up the compost we put into the compost bin. They are worms and nematodes and centipedes and flies and fly larvae. They just love to eat up that stuff. And they also sometimes eat up each other. It's a jungle in there. So getting the compost you want means that you have to put the things that you want to have decomposted in the compost bin, but there are also things that you don't want in the compost. Namely, dairy products like cheese, meat, fish. And the reasons for that is not that these things don't decompose over time, but they often attract bacteria that you don't want in the compost bin and vermin. For example, there are rodents like mice and voles and even rats, and they're attracted to the odor that decomposing flesh, meat, dairy gives off. So we don't want that in the compost bin. And in our composting practice here, in our neighborhood, we also don't put in avocado pits, mango pits, stone pits, the seeds from peaches, apricots, and so on, or the skins of avocado or corn cobs, because they break down much more slowly than the other vegetable matter. So in our composting system, we put those seeds and vegetable matter into this composting unit. And so we put this in here, and after it starts to break down, we will either mix it in with the regular compost when it breaks down, or put it into a separate compost pile. Um, so we don't put the seeds into the regular compost bin along with dairy, meat, or fish. Um, and of course, you shouldn't put plastics or plastic labels, or occasionally one finds metal objects, like people put spoons and forks in the compost. That should not be in the compost. That does not decompose. So that's just a reminder. If you want to make your compost rich and nutritious that the gardeners can use, there are things you shouldn't put into the compost. After we put the fruit wastes and leaves in the active compost bin, it takes about a month to start really decomposing to the point where we can move it along to the next stage of decomposition. And here we have 5 bins, and after a couple of months, as we move the compost from bin to bin, it breaks down until it starts turning into soil, the kind of soil that you would put on your garden. Here, it's not quite finished, but this doesn't look anything like what you started with. And this bin is almost finished. This probably has a few more weeks to go before it gets to the stage where the gardeners can use it in their gardens. And that way, we don't waste the vegetable matter and fruit scraps from your kitchen that would otherwise go into the garbage and become methane, which is one of the gases that's heating up our planet. So composting is very important. It not only gives us nutrients for our garden, but it also helps to prevent climate change.